All right, you guys want to hear about the NFL? What it's going to mean?
Because that's what they're here for.
Okay, let's get down to it, Mayor. So when exactly did you get together with the guys from the Hollywood Park Land Company? When exactly did you start formulating the plan? I know you were redeveloping that property across the street, but when did you say, we're going to put a football stadium in there? How did it come together?
Well, actually, that was never quite the dialogue. This all started, this discussion about football started probably 6 to 7 months after I took office, and I talked with Mark Davis a lot about it, you know. And there were probably 3 multi-billion-dollar consortiums that approached me to talk about buying the 60 acres that Walmart owned at the time and building a football stadium. But I had received communications from Mr. Grubman, I think he's the vice president of the NFL, in charge of relocations. And he sent me a letter and he called me and he let me know that any deal that didn't have a team attached to it had very limited likelihood that it would have come to fruition.
He contacted you and told you that?
Yes.
Okay.
And so with that, armed with that information, you know, I let everyone that was interested know that. Now, every entity that wanted to buy that property, they wanted a fallback to be guaranteed that they would be able to develop housing for it. It's only zoned for parking right now. And they wanted us to commit to allowing to be zoned for parking, for housing. But I let them know, first of all, it's a decision the whole council would have to make in public without collaboration. But more importantly, that I was opposed to it from a philosophical sense, because that had always been overflow parking for the forum. And so what I'd hoped to see was a use that was compatible with the continued parking operation for the forum. So we came to a point where at some point, you know, I talked to Mr. Kroenke, and then at some point he bought the 60 acres, and then at some point, these are all stories waiting to be told later.
I was going to say, you're being kind of vague on the points,
No,
Mayor.
exactly, and then at some point, everybody got together on the other side of the street and decided that, you know, they'd get into a joint venture that resulted in the Citizens Initiative to rezone that property for sports, to include a sports entertainment zone, which was going to include an 80,000-seat NFL specification stadium and a 6,000-seat performing arts theater. And the reason it's very important that we say the term NFL specification stadium, because everyone knew at that time that there was no guarantee that that any team would be allowed to move here. But the philosophy was that if you build the most magnificent and most beautiful stadium in the world, and the most expensive, that it probably wouldn't be vacant for too very long. And so a lot of people went out on faith and made a very bold move, just like our bold move in spending $18 million toward the rehabilitation of the forum, and it looks like that bold move will pan out too.
The key here in all of this, and when the announcement was made, and the mayor and I actually know each other because he is a frequent guest on our radio show on the Beast 980. And before the mayor came on, I had Chris Meany, who works for Hollywood Park, the developers.
Let's give Chris a hand.
And everybody in the room should know, and I'm being 100% honest, that when this story first broke, they thought this would never happen. They thought your mayor was a rank amateur. True?
True.
Well above your head, and couldn't figure it out. True story. And I said to Chris Meany, and it was about a 5-second bite, and it really ignited everything. And most people didn't pick it up. I said, Chris, are you going to build this stadium no matter what? Because you understand with the NFL, there's protocol, there's procedure, and no one will do anything without the approval of the NFL. So when I asked him, are you going to build this stadium no matter what? His response was, yes, we are building the stadium no matter what. And at that point, Mayor, that's true. And at that point isn't when everything started to accelerate about 500 miles an hour.
Absolutely. That's when everybody got panicked. You see, because when we had the press conference, Hollywood Park Land Company had one on their property, and we had a press conference at City Hall that this project was going to move forward, and that actually that the initiative had been filed that's when everybody started to take us seriously, and that's when people started to really get panicked that we might be able to pull this off.
So in this journey that you have been on, there have been many highs, victories that you have celebrated with your staff, you've celebrated personally, milestones that needed to be accomplished along the way, but people have taken a lot of shots at you. Mm-hmm. They've taken a lot of shots at the city of Inglewood. Mm-hmm. What has that been like?
Well, first of all, I want to say this. We don't even get to the point where we can be in a position to take advantage of an opportunity without a lot of hard work from city employees and from the city managers that we've had, you know, Artie Fields, Mark Weinberg, our chief financial officer, our assistant city managers, the managers in the departments. Because you see, if we don't fix this city in a responsible, fiscally prudent manner, no one thinks about spending billions of dollars of investment money, capital here. If we don't, if we didn't get our act together, Hollywood Park Land Company, who has been our friend and stayed with us through some very, very bad years when other companies would have just bankrupted their limited liability corporation and moved on, they stayed here with us. And so if our employees don't do what they've done to fix this city, we don't get to this point where we have this opportunity. Now we get to where we're at the point where we're ready, we're poised to seize an opportunity. Because I always say there is no luck. Luck is where preparation meets opportunity. Then first thing that was said was, oh, they're playing Inglewood. No one would ever put a football team there. You know, it's Inglewood. And then they said, oh, they might pull it off, so no, there must be something crooked about them voting to vote it in, as though...
You took illegal contributions,
absolutely.
Didn't you?
No, that's what they said.
Oh, yeah.
And so as if you would elect 5 people to sit there like dummies and let an opportunity go by and not vote it into action and life at the first opportunity when 22,000 people, more people never voted in an election here, say we'd like to see it happen. But you see, that was the games that were being played. And the council stood resolute. The community stood resolute when people tried to trick them into putting it up for a referendum. And here we sit right now, poised to go ahead and see this thing through to completion.
Is it not true, Mayor? Is it not true, as you were getting down to the bottom line and trying to put this deal together with the unions, I won't ask you to be specific on some of it, but I will ask this. Did you not commit that 35% of the jobs would go to Inglewood residents?
That's always been the agreement between us and Hollywood Park Land Company. It's been the agreement between us and the Forum. Madison Square Garden committed to that same hiring goal. There are 600 Inglewood residents today that have jobs that didn't have them on January 14th when the Forum was about to open. And that's huge for us. And so in the negotiations with the unions, one of the things that Gerard, Chris, and the negotiating team kept in mind was that we had to structure any agreements in a way that would not shut out Inglewood residents. And that's what they did, and I want to thank them for that.
So at this point in time, I guess the next question becomes, for the people that are interested and the folks in the back that are Ram supporters here.
Are there any Ram supporters here?
Oh, there are Ram supporters here, Mayor. I think what people really want to know, and I don't know how much you can say, I know you did have a meeting with the National Football League about a week and a half ago. I know they were in town and talked to Carson as well. I'll get to Carson in a minute. But Mayor, everybody's excited. Everybody in this room wants to see this happen. They believe that the stadium is spectacular, and we're going to have some slides of it in a bit. And you'll see the presentation, by the way, that I think NFL owners saw. So you guys are pretty lucky about that. But Mayor, is it really going to happen? Are you really going to build this stadium?
Let me see how I answer that. That's like asking me, am I really going to go to work tomorrow? I'm going to go to work tomorrow. Unless I get hit by a bus or something, I'm going to work. So I guess unless Gerard and them get hit by buses,
You're building a stadium.
we're building a stadium.
Nice. You are very careful never to mention, and you've not done it on the radio, you've not done it when we've done television, and you've not done it today in front of these people, although I oftentimes try to trick you up and have had no success. You've never mentioned the Rams are coming, Mayor. You've mentioned you're building a stadium. Can you tell us any more than you're building a stadium?
All I can tell you is that when it comes to relocation, there's 32 owners in the NFL and the commissioner of the NFL that make those decisions. And so what we can do is actually just what we've done all along. We've positioned ourselves to be the best option. And I believe if you look at all the different iterations of stadium deals that are being looked at and proposed, you would see that ours is the most solid. We have an owner that owns land. We have an owner that can finance the project himself. We actually have the largest contiguous block of open land in Southern California. It's close to 300 acres. It's twice the size of the Vatican. It already happened to be entitled for a $2 billion mixed-use development, and this was just an add-on because we already had entertainment there. We had the racetrack. The racetrack used to run 38, 41,000 during the week, 100 meets a year. For a big meet, they'd have 60, 65,000 people on an outbound that would run into an inbound of, for the Lakers of about 17,658, which used to be the maximum. And so we flowed 60,000 people here before, 80,000 people on some days. We flowed that kind of traffic for decades. So what do? We've proven we can handle the traffic. We have an owner that owns the land. It's financed. You show me any other project that's proposed right now in any other city that comes close to those kind of qualifications. And we're going to break ground in December.
Well, even though you're not saying that a certain team may be moving here, I'll tell you this, and I think everybody in this room should be very excited about the possibility. If there is no NFL team in that stadium, Inglewood High is going to have a hell of a home field. Some monster truck stuff is going to be big. All right, dare I bring up Carson, or do we leave that alone?
I mean, it depends on how you say it. I wouldn't say anything bad about anybody's project, but it depends on what do you want to ask?
I want to ask, and I say this all the time, so let me editorialize for a second, because if you read in the paper or you listen to television, people will tell you the race is on. Here comes the race. And I always say the same thing, erase the race. There is no race. It doesn't exist. One site, as I like to say, has the man, the team, the land, and the money. One. And I can tell you that perhaps what you hear about Carson, in some of the details, not all have fully been revealed. They are not as far along. They are not as buttoned up. Mayor, do you consider them a viable site? Could they challenge you?
Well, you know, since I've been mayor, I've learned a lot more about a lot of things I never thought that I'd have to bother to. And this is just another one of those things. And from what I've learned along the way on this journey, you know, it amazes me the scrutiny that we got from the larger press and media of every aspect of what we were going to do that seems to escape them when it comes to that site a little bit south of here. I mean, they get away with saying that they're going to buy the land at the end of the month, and no one asks them, did you buy the land? And to my knowledge, they never bought the land.
I asked them that yesterday, Mayor. They haven't bought the land yet.
Okay, you know, it's no secret that, you know, that's a former landfill. and that there's more remediation needs to be done. And that doesn't mean it can't be done, but one of the things I understand has to happen is that they have to cart away somewhere between 3 and 6 stories of dirt over 157 acres, destroy it, put a plastic tarp over what lies beneath, bring in fresh dirt, and then construct a methane gas pumping system that will have to operate into perpetuity at a cost of somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 a month. Now that doesn't mean it can't be done, but if that were us, oh my God! So no,
you wouldn't get a pass on that, would you?
I don't think
Seriously.
we'd get a pass on it. But that being said, from what I've learned, it could be done, but I don't know that they could start to construct it before 2018, finish it before 2020.
And
if it were a race, it's not, but go ahead.
No, so if you break ground this December, you're done 2018?
We're playing football 2018.
The sketches are next. Final question. We sit here today, and you've done a terrific job of explaining things. You've got everything positioned. Everyone in this room says, well, Mayor, you said you're ready to go. Why don't we just start next Monday? Why can't you start next Monday?
Well, there are actually things that you still have to do. You have to go through the construction permitting process, make sure that everything is done as the plans say they will be done, so that everything's done with maximum safety in mind. And so we imagine that process will culminate sometime the first week of December, if not sooner, but that's the target date for the developers. And we are doing everything we can to hire the specialized consultants that will be needed to make sure the city's not a bottleneck for this process. We have a reciprocal agreement with Hollywood Park Land Company that they will reimburse us for all expenses that we incur for this consultant work that we'll need done.
Oh, but final thing. So how much money, because the people in here want to know this. So let's say the development is finished, the stadium is built. All right, so what does the city make a year?
Well, the projections are, and it's the beautiful thing about the initiative, that the point of sale for all construction materials will be here in the city of Inglewood. And that's pretty critical because we don't have anybody that manufactures concrete and girders here. And so we would want to reap the benefit of those sales taxes. So everything that's purchased for the construction of the stadium will be purchased on paper here in Inglewood. So we reap those sales taxes. So the first year, we estimate it'll be about $15 million in just sales taxes for the materials, maybe $14 million the year after that. But the expectation is that we'll get up to the point where we're netting somewhere around $25 million a year.
That's new money, right, Mayor? New money in?
New money, new money. And when you